Guys, welcome back. Now, in the previous tutorial, we managed to uh, get the username to have a theme color similar to this one, pretty much, and increase the font size of the status. So let's now find a way to listen to this clicks of each list item and open a new page where we can view the status in details. What I like using, some people yet like using putting extra the string itself and taking it to the next, which is pretty fast. But for me, I like using server-based operation. So I'll just simply, when I click an item, for example, let me just show you real quick. So I'm going to say on list item click, and in here, I'm going to say now, once the item is clicked, let's get its ID, and we're going to say that by saying parse object. I'm going to say status object equals to m status dot get and the position of the clicked item. So now we get that clicked item, and we're going to say string object ID equals to status object dot get object ID. So once you get the object ID, now let's display this first of all to the user so that we can see what exactly is being clicked, what ID is being clicked. So we're going to say toast.make text and get application context, and we're going to say object ID, and we're going to say here toast.lengthlong dot show. Now if we run this, let's just wait here, and it's updating, and when I click it, you see the object ID of the item that is clicked displays. And I click this one, it's a different ID, and if we head to parse and just check the status, so Hooray has XM, starts with an XM. There's none other that starts with an XM, so definitely updated status 7, and there we are. So it's pretty simple like that. Now, what we want to do after getting the object ID of the clicked item, we want to now take that object ID into a new activity which I just created called status detail view, where we'll be using this activity to view the detail of the status by fetching it from parse by using the object ID. So let me just go ahead and do this right here, and let's get rid of this now since you're confirmed. We're going to say current intent, go to detail view equals to new intent, and then I'm going to say start with from the home page activity dot this to status detail view dot class, and then once that has happened, we want to so put an extra, use something called put extras in intent. So we're going to say go to detail view dot put extra, and the string that we want to put extra here is we're going to give it a key of objects ID, and what we are passing is the object ID. Now we say, once we do that, we say start activity, and the activity that we're starting is go to detail view, and once that is started, we'll be taken to the detail view. So here in the detail view, you see I have very simple code, which I'll just walk you through it, where let me just get rid of it first of all. So yeah, it's okay if it stays. This is just for receiving intent of what started this activity, so that when I click this, it starts the activity, right? So what started that activity is what we are passing, and that is the object ID. So whatever started the status activity, we grab its object ID using the object ID key. So this is supposed to be matching this key right here. So this is very important. That key should match so that you fetch that. Otherwise, you're not going to get anything unless you have another technique. All right, so let's try this. Let me run it first. Of course, I haven't written anything in the status activity apart from just receiving the intent here, which is simple code, and I will walk you through it in a short while. Let me just head back to Genymotion and click connectivity, and I'll be taken to status detail view. So here in status detail view, what I want to do is have a text here and display. First of all, I want to confirm if it's getting me the right object ID so that I can fetch its other stuff from parse here at status detail view. So to do that, I'm going to create a text view here, just a dummy text view to use it as something. So what I'll do is go to layout and activity status detail. And in here we have a text view, and I'm going to text this as object ID that started the activity. Just a long text so that we know. And I'll give it an ID of object ID that started. Just something long, you know. This is a test. I'm going to remove it anyway, but for now, I'm just going to keep it. Okay, so now let's go ahead to code now, and let's create a protected. Let's connect the Java file with the XML file. In other words, you know, what we've been doing all along. Get this text view reflected here. So protected text view. I'm gonna call this object ID. All right, and then object ID text view, and then I'm going to find it here, and I'm going to say object ID text view equals to text view find view by ID r.id dot it was a long object ID that started activity, and then we're going to say now here down below it object ID dot set text, and this text we're going to set is the object ID string. So let's see that if we open the activity and get that object ID. So let's just refresh here, run it again. Bet it did run. And then when I click something like hooray, it takes us and gives us the object ID right here. I'll go back. I'll go to this and 7, which is the right ID. Name is great. It's the same ID. So with that in mind, we now have the object IDs, and we can use it to now fetch whatever we're looking for again without passing intents or back and forth. So we just pass the ID, just one intent, and we're using the server code just to fetch data from parse. That's pretty how I like to do it. So let's go ahead and do that right now. And so we are going to actually, you know, I'll head back to activity status detail view, and this is the object that started the activity. What I will do with this one, I will write this as, I will rename this as the status user, or the status in detail, you know, something like that. And then with that, you can figure out how to do the rest, how to fetch the rest of the objects and display it using what we just learned earlier. It's really simple as that, using parse query. So now let's go ahead and display this status from parse. And to do that, I will go to code again, and this one is not an object ID, but now I'll change this to status or M status, because there's no M status here. And I'll change its ID as well so that we have consistency. And we're going to say status detail view. and then copy that, and then come here, and then connect it. mStatus is this, the text view. So initialize variables there, and then we get the intent that started the activity. Get the intent that started the activity, intent started the activity, and yeah, that's pretty much for now. And then object ID set text. So this mStatus that set text is the object ID. So we don't want to use the object ID to set it as text, which is pointless. We want to use that object ID to parse, to query data from parse and display it into that status on this line right here. The status has been clicked. So your demo is great, should display here. So let's do that in the next video. I was just showing you how to set it up, and since it's working fine, let's catch up in the next video.